Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the Games Workshop title Middle-earth strategy battle game. We're going to break down if it's a game for you. We're going to take a look at some of my memories with the game, the army I currently play, how the game works. So there'll be a little story stuff, there'll be a few tales from my history with the game. There'll be some info about the game, there might be some footage just to show you guys if you think this is a game for you. So the game released in 2001 and it's gone through a few iterations since then. I think at one point it was even rank and file, I seem to remember. But even to this day it's been heavily updated, it still gets support, it still gets supplements, new models. So if you're looking for a game that's going to stick around, one that you can bank on, I would say this is a great choice. Now it's not as heavily supported as it used to be by Games Workshop. I remember times when as soon as I walked into the shop, the one in Nottingham is the one I'm used to the most, I'd be greeted by someone who would introduce me to the game, and it used to be Lord of the Rings. They'd invite me over to play, and that is how I really got into it. I would say the second time. I've been into it a few times now, sort of in and out. But now I went into Games Workshop, I think it was just last week, and you might think, oh, this is a game that's not going anywhere, it's not supported. It still is. They have huge tournaments, there's a massive player base on Facebook, especially in the UK. You can find groups and it's just played everywhere. It's still a very popular game. It's just obviously Games Workshop has Warhammer, but this I would say is a great alternative. Now all I found in the store was just a single rack, a single shelf of stuff, which was kind of disappointing, but they had the Mummock, the giant elephant, the elephants from the Serpent Horde, the Easterling, so I was tempted to pick those up, even though I don't even run that army. They're just such gorgeous models, and that's part of the reason I love this game. The bigger models and the bigger creatures do really have that wow factor to them, but we'll get into the models a little later on. Let's keep going with my journey in this, and hopefully something of it jumps out for you, or maybe you'll start to reminisce. You're a veteran player, maybe you remember something similar. If you do, drop yours in the comments below, because I would love to hear your stories on how you got into the game, or if you're thinking of getting into it, throw any questions in there. I'm sure somebody can help. Even though they didn't have what I wanted in store for Lord of the Rings, they could order it in, but I try to support my local game stores, which mine closest is Dice Cavern. It's also my favourite. So if you're looking for somewhere to buy your product, or even find games to play, check out Dice Cavern Games on Facebook. Let them know I sent you. I'll drop the link below if you want to check it out. And hopefully I meet you there for a game. One more thing, this will kind of date the video, but I recently visited Warhammer World and somebody there, I think his name was Ash, made an article in White Dwarf. Now, Middle-earth isn't normally sort of a mainstay in that. It's not going to take up a lot of pages. They actually got quite a few in this one. They played a battle report of some of the big narrative campaigns like Balin's Tomb. It was really interesting just to see it in there and hear how they played out the games, how their games went, some battle reports. They even went into terrain creating, which I've been getting into more and more recently. Just to be clear, I said terrain, not train. I do slur words slightly now and again, so. But yeah, I just wanted to give that a shout out. So if you're interested in Middle-earth, I would say grab this White Dwarf. I'll flick up on screen which one it is so you know which one to grab. But it's definitely worth a read, and shout out to that guy, because he seemed very passionate about it when he told me about it in store, and I know that's part of his job, but it was a really good read and I would recommend anyone to grab it. Now I did mention this in a different video, but I did get started in around 2004, I think that was the year. It was around there anyway, and I remember a small hobby store in town, I think it was called Access Models, but I did just check online before recording this clip and it says it's now in Newark. The one I visited was in Grantham, so I'm not sure if it was that store and it's just moved or it was a different name, but it was something like that. If anyone is from this area or remembers the Grantham store or know it's moved or knows the owner, please let me know in the comments, because my memory is terrible, but I would like to put a name to a shop. I would love to visit the one in Newark if it was the store. So that's kind of a niche ask, but if anyone is, let me know in the comments. Anyway, that's where it began for me. It was me, my brother, and 3 or 4 other friends really got into the game. We started picking this stuff up that we had never done before. We'd never done the painting, we'd never done the hobby side of it with the grass and the glues and the bases and battlefields and all of that stuff. We kind of explored it together, which was a unique experience. None of us had done anything like it before. And I think that's why wargaming is so special. It's not just throwing these figures on the field and creating memorable moments and battles, even though that is a huge part of it. It's the hobby side of it as well, and creating this world and the terrain and the characters to make that story come to life when you finally get to the battlefield. I did recently, when moving house, find some of those old figures, and I don't really want to show them, but I am going to show you them, just how poor the job was back then. We were happy with them, but we didn't have, you've got to understand, we didn't have like the internet and stuff to learn. We had to just do it ourselves and pick it up, but you can clearly see we were kind of rushing the painting just to get into the battles and the other stuff. So yeah, obviously stuff now I would hope is worlds away from where it used to be. Yeah, it's kind of awful seeing them now. They definitely need a repaint. I definitely think I've learned a few things since then. So at some point I will do a video repainting those things, and I will have to show the world them again. Irrelevant of how they looked, I got together with friends, we picked our favourite armies and threw them onto the battlefield and just had fun. We rolled dice, we killed characters, we still did the hobby stuff together, as bad as we were at it, but it was a bonding experience. It's honestly one of my favourite memories just because how pure it was. Like, we had nothing to compare our models to, except for obviously Games Workshop, but we weren't going to do that. We just had some of our favourite armies and favourite characters from the movies, throwing them against each other, and that's what it's about. I think if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you're a Hobbit fan, you are going to adore this game. It hits it on the head. The narrative really delves into the story and the lore, and I just think it is perfect for any Tolkien fans. Shockingly, my brother and another friend from that original group, and maybe even another one, still play to this day, and that is who I play this game with. I am looking to take it to tournaments and try it out with more people, but at the minute we're just playing in, I'm lucky enough to have like a games room, an outbuilding, which is where we do it currently. It's just so strange, it's still those people. I would love to get the other two to play at some point, but I did mention in another video, one's out of the country and one I haven't spoken to in years. But I mean, never say never. I would love to do it at some point, but if it ever happens, you guys will see it, I promise. Back in the day, I used to run the Gondor army for a few reasons. It was super easy to paint, as you can see from my jobs. It wasn't great, but it was done. They weren't tabletop ready. They were just one of the most recognisable groups, and they were easy to paint, and in my head they looked incredible. These days I've moved into the Dwarven armies. My favourite character, or one of them, is Dane Ironfoot, so I had to get the Iron Hills. It was the first army I ever purchased, with the comeback I should say. It's just something about him. It's his war boar, it's his attitude, it's his army. It's all just iconic to me, so I had to have them. Even if it did cost 100. There was a real chance I put that money into the game and nothing would come of it, because I didn't speak to friends, I didn't speak to my girlfriend about possibly playing the game with me. It's just one of those things I went out and got. I think I saw some videos on it online. I'm trying to remember the channel. I watch so many different ones now. But yeah, it just inspired me to go out and grab it, and I did. I painted them up, and I don't regret a thing. I'm so lucky that my friends wanted to play, my girlfriend wanted to play, and now it's one of those games we play quite often. So I got Dane, but I didn't have the other dwarves. I didn't have Thorin's Company, which I love from The Hobbit. Enter Erebor. So you can play Erebor Reclaimed, where Thorin can be the leader instead of Dane. You can still have him, you can still have the Iron Hills, which I think is the perfect combination, and it's been my favourite army since. Now, with some tournaments, you do need to take a good list and a evil list. So I did start to look into possibly what evil armies I would play, and I picked up Moria for one reason, but for many different reasons of that, and it was the giant monsters. It was the Balrog, it was the dragon, it was the drake, it was even the bats. It just offers so much in it. There's so many fun pieces I can look forward to playing. The Watcher I didn't even mention, probably my favourite. It's just full of these incredible giant monsters from the movie, creating these incredible scenes. That was mainly my idea for it, so when we do these narrative plays, I've got these giant creatures we can throw in. Now, there was a point where I tried to change to the Serpent Horde, the Easterlings, and get the Mummoks, but I am very impatient, so when the Cave Drake came online and it was back in stock, I asked Steve at Dice Cavern Games to pick it up for me, and there was no going back from that point. So I've got my good army, I've got my evil army, I'm sorted, I'm ready for tournaments, I'm ready to just play this game and enjoy the armies I've got. Huh? What's that? I've got another army. Of course, as in any hobby, you're never just complacent with what you have. You always want more. And for me, when I entered this game, the most beautiful and incredible piece, probably model of all time for me personally, was the Treebeard. It's such a grand model. It's a huge design, but not only does it look good and fit the character from the movie so I can play out these scenes, it had Merry and Pippin attached, which means it was from that scene. It was from the movie, so I had to have it. It's just such an incredible piece to have on tabletop and such an incredible memory from the movie. It is, for me, the best model of the Middle-earth range and maybe favourite miniature model of all time? Question mark. And obviously, me having the best girlfriend of all time, I got an early Christmas present and it might have been Treebeard. So hopefully now you've heard my experience with the game, some stories from it, how I love the models, the support it's given, the supplements, all of that good stuff. That's maybe informed your decision, but let's take a look a little deeper and try and help you in this portion. It has a huge array of armies and game types. So when I say that, there are so many different good armies, there's so many different Lord of the Rings and Hobbit and evil armies of both sides, that you're going to be spoilt for choice. You're going to be like a kid in a candy store, exactly how I am, and I've ended up with 3 armies already. I think if you're a fan, you're going to end up like me. But as well as that, when you actually get to play, and there's so many different game types, they've added more as they've gone on. And I think there might be almost 20, maybe even more, because there might be some that I'm missing. I don't have all of the books. But I know there's quite a few now, which makes it very unique when you play these different stories. Speaking of stories, there is actually a narrative mode where you can play handpicked stories and scenarios from the movies, but you can put your own spin on them. Maybe the outcome's different. It feels very much like Marvel's What If, where in this one, what if Frodo fell at Weathertop? Or what if Frodo fell at Balin's tomb? He really struggles with staying alive, that guy. Maybe he's not the right one to carry the ring. Recently, we also played out Helm's Deep, so I've got this giant. It was a little big for what we needed it for, but it looks so good. I'll flash up a picture of it here. Next time I'll do a little video, maybe do some battle reports if you guys want to see that. So let me know in the comments. But just looking in the book, it goes so in depth into demolition charges, ladders, battering rams, catapults, all of that stuff you're going to need to even create your own game types. They really have left no stone unturned in explaining how you jump, how you climb, all of these interactions you'd expect to find in the game, you will find in the handbooks. As I said, there are a ton of armies, so it is very interesting on the competitive level as well. There is a ton of different ways you can play. And most importantly, even at that level, it's still fun. You're still just playing these fun armies that you enjoy against other people, playing fun armies they enjoy. There is a way to make them more competitive. You can pick certain characters. You can create your own unique list, most importantly, which I think is lost in other games. But this game does a little better job at having that. Because at the end of the day, you've got a whole army, so you could just outplay your opponent. You could be more tactical. It won't necessarily come down to just one model, which I think speaks volumes to the balance in this game. If this video has helped you in any way, if you now feel like you're going to get into the game or you've got further questions, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to help you. I'd love to introduce you to this game. If you're a veteran, like I said, please drop your stories on how you got into the game, maybe your best memories in it, because I would love to read those as well. That's the reason I do these videos, just to hear your stories, to have interactions with the community. So let me know in the comments. That's all I've got for this episode. If you've made it to this point, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.